What's up, everybody? Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and whew, it's been crazy. If you've been following the channel at all, you know that we were posting 3 videos a week, and then out of nowhere, after my co-reaction with Yasmin of Face Yourself, silence, nothing. And I want to take a couple minutes to tell you why, just because it's interesting. Boom, whole family got COVID. It was great. I love it. It's actually the first time I've ever had it. Somehow I made it this long without getting it. And let me tell you, it sucks. You know, one thing about me is whenever I get sick, I get like sick. And I know a lot of people who have gotten it. And for them, it was just like a, pretty mild. Not for me. My voice was wrecked. I was coughing nonstop. It was miserable. And then also, this has been going on since October 21st, but it got confirmed I've got a herniated cervical disc in the base of my neck. So the disc between C6 and C7 basically exploded and is poking out of my spine and pushing on a nerve. And let me tell you, it feels good. I love it. Thankfully, yesterday I got some meds. I got some Galliprant, which is really helping with the pain. You'll notice I'm sitting in this video, and it's because like I can move my head plenty this way, like that's fine. This way and up and down is tricky. So I have to be a little less animated, and the chair will hopefully help me avoid the head banging stuff. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I am a full-time metal vocal coach. I teach. Right now we're fully booked. We're blessed with a lot of students, and I teach them how to make all sorts of crazy sounds. Now I haven't really used my voice other than just a little bit of slow inching back into it for a couple of weeks, but helping people make a lot of sounds like not bad for like a 2.5 week break. I teach them how to make those sounds safely and efficiently. It is a long journey, but it is a journey I have helped many, many, many people with. I'm also, I was going to say full-time musician. I guess that's not technically true because, we're not on tour. But I am a vocalist in a band called Kardashev. And we've got quite a few releases. We're on Metal Blade Records. Check it out if you want to. And here on the channel, I take the reaction format. I break it down. I pause a lot. So if you don't like that, work through it, I guess. I don't know. But I pause a lot. I talk about vocals. I'll tell you what the vocalist is doing, or if I would do it differently, how I would do it. Or if I'm not sure what they're doing, I'll give you my best guess because I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And that's it. That's it. So if you enjoy the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to watch help the channel grow. And this is a very fun video for me to do because Distant is a band I had not heard until I saw them on tour. I think it was 1 or 2 years ago. There was this huge tour. It had Signs of the Swarm, Distant, Lorna Shore. I think Angelmaker and Carcosa both played. And then it had, I believe it also had Carnifex and Suicide Silence. It was great. It was a great tour. And I had heard of Distant, but I'd never heard their music. So sick live. So sick. They do a lot of great work. Their vocalist is phenomenal. And since I've never talked about them here on the channel, I'm very excited to do so. Also, interestingly enough, they're from the Netherlands, like my editor. So that's kind of cool, I guess. All right, that's enough talk from me. Let's go ahead. Let's check out Born of Blood, Distant. Here we go. Okay, we got some high vocals, so let's talk a little bit. Let's take a break. Pulling out some Becks. Love to see it. Okay, so let's talk about a couple things here. This is a really solid, and if you have the chance to go see Distant live, you should do it because these vocals sound great in this studio recording. Live, I've only seen them once, but let me tell you, broke my skull. Seriously, sounds so good live. But this scream is a really good example of how far oral space can take us, right? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, oftentimes when we are trying to achieve very specific vocal sounds, either with distortion or with our clean tone, right? When we're having difficulty, it's because we don't have the right vocal tract shape. You know what I'm saying? And this is actually something that's quite intuitive if you think about it. Like imagine if you had an acoustic guitar, but the body of the acoustic guitar was just some janky shape. It was small. Let's say the inside of the guitar, there was just no room. Well, that guitar is going to sound dull and dead. It's not going to have that resonance that we're wanting it to have, right? And that's something that most people can be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You need an acoustic guitar to have a specific shape, to have a specific resonant tone, right? Same goes with our voice. Right? Same goes with our voice. So if I use a very similar distortion to what he's using, right? And we'll talk more about it later. And I don't do anything with my mouth shape or my oral space. I just keep it the same as when I talk. It's going to sound boring, right? So if I take this, doesn't sound like much. And what I'm doing there is I've got this distortion, which again, we'll talk more about how I'm generating that later. I've got that distortion, but I'm not doing anything fancy with my mouth. If I was to talk, I would be talking like this, right? You know, this is, what will I say? I'll say, this is a growl. Okay. This is a growl. This is a growl. You can hear that it's not that impressive, even though I'm creating good quality distortion, right? Now I'm going to take this distortion and I'm going to do something kind of counterintuitive. I'm going to do something that Alan, I don't remember his last name, the vocalist of Distant is doing. And I'm actually going to look for a muffled sound, right? A large but muffled sound. And so let me give you an example of what I mean. If I take my voice and I open up the vocal space, I open up the back of the mouth, the front of the mouth, just the whole oral space. I'm going to go from to right, nice and open. Right, that's open, that's resonant. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to muffle it. I'm going to curl my tongue. I'm going to curl my lips, and I'm going to kind of create an a little bit smaller, a little bit more muffly. Now let's take that right? Already I have a cooler sound. Now I don't know the lyrics of this song, but let's say Born in Blood, right? Born in blood, born in blood. Sounds cooler, right? So there's a lot of cool stuff he's doing. Now there were a couple spaces as well where it sounded like he reduced a little of that muffle, showing his teeth, which creates a big difference, right? Right, brightens up the tone. But let's keep going. There's going to be plenty to talk about. I love that this video is just dudes hanging out. Wait, let's get a better shot. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple other things. I'm going to talk about two things here, so bear with me. The first thing is those high vocals. I love the sound of those high vocals. And here's why. They sound crunchy, right? One thing about high vocals is this is true of many screams, but there's so much variation. You've got like your super duper power fries, I think the kids were once calling them, fry screams, which sound so smooth. Almost they have like this ripping paper type of sound, and they're amazing. Then you've got your traditionally what's called false chord high, and it sounds really rumbly, right? And then you have his high, which has that false chordy rumble, but it's got like this crunch. Now, some of that may be, the way it's EQ'd and things like that, but part of the reason I think it's organic, part of the reason I think it's him is because it sounds very relaxed. It doesn't sound over projected, and it sounds small in the back of the vocal tract, right? Now, when we say small in the back of the vocal tract, it can be tempting to think that we're going to close our vocal space down. That's not necessarily what we want to do. Most of the time when we're doing high screams, not always, but most of the time, what we want to do is we want to create a narrow space with our tongue up in like an position. Yeah. If I breathe a little distortion through a smaller space created by the tongue, not created by closing the back of the throat, what's going to happen is I'm still going to have a lot of freedom in my ability to create distortion, but it's going to brighten the tone and it's going to isolate those high frequencies. So I get a very I don't want to say effortless, but not very effortful high distortion. So let me show you what I mean. If I drop that tongue to back to like just an it's like a weird false chordy mid, right? Lift that tongue up. So I'm like talking like I'm a very stereotypical, like, I've had a lot of students from New York and none of them talk like this, but if you think of like a cartoon character from New York or like somebody very eccentric from like Seinfeld, they might talk like this. Yeah. I'm walking here, right? Yeah. One thing that's really important to do with your high screams is to focus less on, okay, now, let me back up a little bit here. I'm trying to think of how to say this without conveying the wrong message. Depending on the type of scream you do, keeping the vocal folds relaxed and apart is going to be very beneficial. So obviously, if you're doing like a straightforward traditional fry scream, this isn't going to apply. But if you're doing something more false chordy or more with the top of the throat or even the tissues in the back of the throat, the pharyngeal folds, right? Keeping your vocals not together is going to be very freeing, right? Keeping your vocal folds from touching. And the reason for this, a lot of my students who have difficulty with high screams have difficulty with them for the same reason that many people have difficulty with singing high notes, right? They squeeze the vocal tract as hard as they can and they shove the larynx up as hard as it needs to go. Not very useful. Now, if you're going to be focusing on harsh vocals, disengaging those, and you're not set on fry, you're not set on like that pure fry tone. Disengaging the vocal folds frees up, it takes some mental work. We have to redefine the way we think of screams as high and low rather than spatial, their frequency, right? They're high because of frequency, not high because they're literally above us that we have to reach for. The removal of the vocal folds can be a really good way to break that mental habit. So you think about breath, a distortion pulled solely from breath. False chord 101. Yeah. Just air. Yeah. Right. And that can be a good way to get there. I'm not saying it's going to be fast, but I'm saying it works once it gets there. I wanted to talk about transitions, but that was a long spot. Let's let the song go a little bit more. And then I'll talk about, he had this beautifully smooth transition from high to low. It was gorgeous. And I'm hoping he does it again, but let's keep going. We gotta go back. Look at this dude. This video just has such good vibes. I want you to listen to this beautiful high scream that he pulls down to like almost a mid. There's a little bit of vocal cord activation in there. It sounds absolutely sinister. I don't know what the lyrics are. Does this have closed captions? Of course not. Oh, there's that COVID cough. Oh man. Every time I cough, it really hurts that. Oh, really hurts that disc. Oh God. Okay. Woo. I don't know the lyrics, of course, but there's this movement where he's got this your typical high vocal like lips open, teeth exposed, tongue high, yeah, yeah, and then he pulls it, how, how, sounds kind of like that. I don't know what he says, but let's check it out. So sick. Who's that guy he's screaming with? Never seen him before. Just kidding. This must be from a tour or something like that. Oh, look, he's got a tattoo that says family. How appropriate. Sharts. I forgot what I was going to talk about. Let's keep going. All right. We're gonna have to go back. So if this is your first video with watching here at Cardivox Academy, first of all, thank you. But if it's not your first video, you know that I love down tempo metal. Love it. I just love it. It's not that it's superior. It's not anything like that, but like give me like, slow chugs. Give me slow chugs with good ambience, good atmosphere. I'm fucking sold, brah. Bands like Black Tongue, LLNN. I'm not sure how to say the band name. Distant. I'm all for it. I want to talk about that guttural, and then I want to talk about a couple other things. So one thing about gutturals, and this is actually gutturals is one of my favorite things to teach because it's always like so quick. You know what I mean? Now, not saying that the student masters the guttural in one lesson, but it's fun seeing it demystified, right? So when we talk about gutturals, oftentimes it's like this, you'll have people who can't do them and they'll feel like it's this very big, far off concept. And it's really not, right? I remember the first time I nailed a guttural, we actually recorded it. My first guttural I ever did is in a song on our album, Kardashev's album. Oh, what is it? I think it's called Consium. It's on our album Peripety. Also, if you go listen to it, the mix on the album is terrible. My apologies. Consium. That's the name of the song. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I remember when I first hit a guttural, I realized, man, I've been overcomplicating this. I have been doing way too much work. Let me talk to you about what I mean. So when lots of people think of gutturals, they think of a guttural as its own technique. Right? They think of a guttural as being something far off and alien and completely separate than everything else. And they don't think that logically. Like I've never had a student say that, but many of my students, I can tell in the back of their brain, speaking figuratively, in the back of their brain, in their subconscious, they think they need to go across the road to some brand new territory to find it. It's not it at all. First thing you need for a guttural is a strong mid. Okay, a strong mid. And if your mid is a little bit more compressed, I know that's a slippery term, it's going to sound better, right? So if you have like a really loose false chord, like that's going to create less of a powerful guttural, less of a modern guttural, right? But if you have something a little tighter, like a traditional fry scream, or maybe like one of these more arytenoidal, epiglottal, like types of screams, which is what I do a lot of predominantly, it's going to sound a lot better. Now, your goal here with your guttural is to create a secondary resonance chamber. And that's just a fancy way of saying you want the voice to sound boomy, right? And the best way to practice this is with your clean voice. Don't mess with the distortion, right? Keep that separate for a while. And what you're looking for is a sound like this. Do you notice how my voice sounds like it's very hollow? It's very big. That is not coming from any extra work here. It's not coming from any extra work here. It's coming from basically curling up my tongue and thinking about lengthening the vocal tract. I am lengthening the vocal tract both, directly by by puckering my lips, You don't have to pucker your lips for guttural, but it's the easiest way to start. Puckering my lips. I'm making the space bigger by dropping my jaw. And then last but not least, I'm curling my tongue slightly. And you are looking for that sound. Now, let's say you're trying it my way. You're puckering the lips, curling the tongue, dropping the jaw, and it's just not working. Do something else, right? That's the beauty of metal vocals. You just are looking for an effect. So if for you, it's easier to go tongue sideways. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. That just means that's how you do gutturals. Both are gutturals. So don't lock yourself into a position that doesn't work because that's what this person or that person or this coach told you. Understand the effect that you're looking for. And that's a really big thing. If I could really get this across to many new vocalists, it's not about exactly where you're putting your tongue. It's not about mimicking your vocalist, your favorite vocalist or your coach perfectly. It's about understanding the end goal and realizing that you may get there a little differently. When I put my distortion through this space, doesn't sound like much. You're going to get a guttural sound, right? Voice is still a little scratchy from the COVID, but I'm doing all right. You're going to get guttural. You're going to get that guttural sound, and it doesn't take any extra work or squeeze here. It's all about just making shapes. And how much work is this? Like right now, watching this video, just you're going to look like an idiot. I don't care. Get over it. I have to look like an idiot in my lessons every day, so y'all can catch up, right? Anyway, I was going to make another joke, but it was a bit untoward. So just sit there and go. That shouldn't cause any muscle strain. That's how easy a guttural can be. And it's not hard. Now, one last thing I'll say. If you are someone who has a lot, I've had probably like 6 to 10 students over the years. If you are someone who's having difficulty curling your tongue up, you may be tongue-tied. A lot of people don't know they're tongue-tied. Now, I don't diagnose a tongue tie because I'm not allowed. But I have looked under people's tongues in a lesson and being like, yo, homie, you got a lot going on under the tongue there. Your sublingual frenulum or lingual frenulum is like right up on the tip of your tongue. I can't tell you that means anything, but you may want to go see your doctor. And if that's the case, maybe talk to your doctor about getting that snipped. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you should talk to your doctor about doing it. You may not need to. There are other ways to create gutturals as well. There's so many things I want to talk about, but let's keep going. We're almost done. Whoa. Good job, Bart Sperling. I know that as far as reaction videos go, I'm not as entertaining to watch. That's a herniated disc. I'm trying to be really nice to it. I'm trying to really be good, because if I overwork it, and I'm going to be getting some steroid shots and those don't work, I have to get surgery, and they go right under the larynx or right beside the larynx. And that makes me quite uncomfortable. So I'm trying to respect the neck, right? Let's talk about a couple other things about his voice that I think are really cool. One thing I noticed, I've never noticed about his voice before, but I noticed it here and I thought it was actually quite cool. He has a lot of breathy onsets that are very controlled. And it sounds sick, right? It's a subtle thing. It's a tiny thing, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy this sound. So for example, one vocalist might, I'm just going to do syllables, right? One vocalist might say, like, let's say E, F, B, or E, F, B, because that'll be easy to vocalize. One vocalist might say E, F, B, E fa ba. E fa ba. E fa ba. Sounds great. He would go like E fa ba. E fa ba. Get out of here. E fa ba. E fa ba. He even gets it on like his plosives, and that's kind of weird. Like it's like a breathy plosive, but not like poppy. That's weird. Oh, there we go. And it sounds really cool. It's a nice little touch to his voice. I don't know if he does it intentionally, but it's something I just noticed that I really like the sound of. Now, I told you I was going to talk about transitioning between styles. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm not going to go back and find the section because I don't know where it is. First time I heard the song. But one thing that many people mess up on when they're talking about transitioning between vocal styles is they don't take time to be comfortable in the vocal style. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's say you just figured out lows a month ago. Okay. You've got a strong low. Okay. Then let's say 2 weeks ago, you got a strong high. You're probably not ready to really, truly transition those vocals. Now, I'm not saying don't mess with it. Mess with it. Have fun. But you're going to have a better time if you are really in control of those two separate pieces before you put them together, right? So if you have a strong familiarity with your lows, you can just, you could be at like a party or hanging out with friends and they're like, hey, make the noise. And you're like, oh my God. Okay, there you go. Or, they're like, ooh, do the other one. Do like the wraith one. And you're like, okay. Right? Right? When you're at the point that you can just pop those together out, you can maybe even run through a song. Then start thinking about putting them together. And there are two ways. Okay, well, there are a lot more than two ways, but there are two really helpful ways that you can do this. One, which I'm less of a fan of, but I have seen it work for people, is just like you basically have a metronome, whatever BPM that would be, and you just bring them closer. You don't have to have a metronome, but it can be nice. So you basically would go, or let's start with a high actually. Yeah. 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 Right? It can be helpful for people and for students who are a little bit more just kind of like innately talented. That is a thing. Some people will tell you it's not a thing. The reason I know that some people are just innately talented is because I sucked for a long time. I had to really grind. And then I see like, 14-year-olds, on fucking Reddit or whatever, and they're like, how's my scream? And I'm like, way better than mine ever will be. The second way, I'm a bigger fan of this way, although it is a little bit more technical work, but it's going to make you a more rounded vocalist 9 times out of 10, is using your mid vocal as like a central station, right? So you've got a strong mid, you've got a mid vocal, you've got a high vocal, you've got a low vocal. What you're going to do is you're actually going to practice transitioning from high to mid, and then from low to mid to high, mid to low, right? And so you're thinking about it. It's like if you were trying to go from a city in the north part of the region where you live and a city to the city in the southern part. There's probably a central station that you have to move through, right? On a train. You're kind of treating it like that. So let's have a mid, right? Now there are different mids you can do, right? I'm going to do like a let's see. I'm going to do that. There we go. So yeah, man, this is hard. My voice is not fully back after COVID. I'm going to back off. This is a good, go ahead and keep this in, Ludo, because this is a good example. That high to mid transition, I still felt some of the irritation from when my voice was hurting from COVID. So I'm going to respect what my body's telling me and I'm going to back off. I'm not going to show an example, but if you understand what I'm saying, you can practice transitioning. And then as you get good from high to mid and then mid to low, you just slide on through it, right? This is going to be kind of similar to, getting across your vocal break. Okay. So you can also practice that with your clean voice, and you don't have to be perfect at it. Like, like if you were a pure clean singer, you depending on the style you're in, you'd want it to be really smooth, really controlled. But if you're not going for that, just being able to Just something like that where you don't like have a strong like that strong break, that strong yodel can also translate to helping out with your transitions. Anyway, I've been talking a lot. This was a sick song. I love what Distant does. I would love to see them live again. And really, if you have the chance to see Distant live, absolutely do it because this song, it's great. I love this song. I'm going to spin it plenty of times. But this song live by the boys in Distant, oh, it would herniate all the other discs and it would be worth it. Anyways, thank you all for watching. One thing I forgot to mention because I'm out of practice is that if you are interested in learning, the basics of how to start this stuff, I do have a course. It is an online vocal course. I give one-on-one lessons, but the online vocal course is a good option. It is called False Chord Fundamentals. It's really great for new vocalists or even experienced vocalists who have some sort of issue. They can't quite identify what it is. Usually it's a foundational issue. It's been helping a lot of people. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback about it. So feel free to check it out. CarterBoxAcademy.com. And beyond that, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate each and every one of you. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.